Day 5 of our week 3. So, week 3, day 5, ELA. And today, boys and girls, we're going to work on our fresh read. And you are going to get your first ever ELA grade for 4th grade. So, grading this year, boys and girls, is going to be a little different because you're not going to be in the classroom all that time, and I don't want to give you a test after test after test every day you're in with me. So we're going to be giving you some things to do at home that are required for you to show me your comprehension. I'm going to start you off really easy today, this week, so don't be nervous. It is going to be a test. I'm going to give you a grade, but the lowest grade that you will get is an 80. So if you get them all wrong, you're going to get an 80. Now you don't want that. You want like 100. So you're going to get an 80, 85, 90, 95, or 100 based off of how well you do. And you will do good because it's a super easy story and some questions. So make sure that you're paying attention, and you will see the two things that are attached to the stories that you're getting today are going to be part of your test to hand in. Now, if you are working on split screen, see if you are able to do that. You can pause the video and bring up the attachment, and the attachment that you will get will be the first story, Escape to Freedom. Again, we wanted you to try split screen this week. I wanted you to see if it works, try, find out why it wasn't working, what was up with it. We're hoping maybe in the future that we can push things out electronically, but you have your backup, you have your paper copy in front of you. So we're gonna read the first story called Escape to Freedom, and I'm gonna give you guys a preview of your test. That's it. That's one question of your test. It's going to be what your setting is, what the setting is of the story. And then you'll get a second story called Super Quiz Day, and that will be another super easy one, and you have to tell me the middle and the end of the story, the event. So these are things that we have been working on for close to 2 weeks here, boys and girls. All right, so let's get our story started, and our first story is called Escape to Freedom. And again, first quiz, first time, I'm going to help you with your fluency. Follow along with me, your tracking, and then you should do swimmingly, which means you will do really good, really well. When I was a little boy, long ago in the South, I lived in a shack on a cotton plantation. Mama and I worked in the big house where the owner lived. Papa worked all day in the fields. I was a slave, but I didn't know it. One night, Papa came home with upsetting news. "Elijah," he said, "Master is in trouble. He might lose his land. If he sells us, someone may try to take you away from Mama and me. We won't let that happen. We know people who will help us escape. From now on, you cannot be a little boy anymore. You must be brave like a man." Late that night, we dressed and snuck out of the shack. We crept through the woods and up to the road. A wagon was waiting for us. We lay inside it like sacks of cotton, and the driver covered us with a blanket. "Quiet," he said. "If we get caught, you'll be sent back, and I will go to jail." Near morning, we reached the Mississippi River. Our wagon was hidden inside a shed, and there was a steamboat waiting on the river. The driver told us that a woman would take my mother on board, pretending that she was her slave. My father and I would have to travel as cargo, though on a different boat. Cargo, boys and girls, would mean just like where you're putting all the shipments and stuff, so it's not like a very roomy place or anything. I was afraid that I would never see Mama again if we were separated, but we had no choice. I cannot remember much of that hard journey. We were put into wooden boxes with the lids nailed shut. I banged around on the box I was banged around as the box was carried abroad. The air inside the ship was hot and stuffy, and I was sick and hungry. After a long time, the ship stopped moving. Loud men carried me in my box and laid me on the ground. I wanted to cry out, but I did not dare. I didn't even care about freedom. Was my mama all right? I just wanted to see her and Papa. Suddenly, I heard the sweetest sound in the world. Mama was saying, "Hurry, pry off the lid." A moment later, she was holding me close, and Papa was climbing out of his box. "Are you all right?" we asked each other, and I began to cry. "No need for tears," said a tall man with a red beard. "Welcome to freedom, young man." And that, boys and girls, is our story. It's the Underground Railroad that we will learn much later in the year when we get into social studies and the Civil War. So if you were a little confused on this, the background of that, but that was a time in our country when slavery, unfortunately, we had the southern states own slaves. So there was lots and lots of people, thousands of people that would help African American men and women that were enslaved in the South escape to the North to their freedom. So that was the good part of our story. So you have the one question right there. You can do this now, pause the tape and answer this question. Or if you want to listen to the stories, all the stories, and then just go back and do them, you can do that. But you simply have, in the middle, it says when and where the story takes place. We have Elijah and his parents lived in a shack on a cotton plantation. And then we have several things where the story does change our setting. All right. So again, you can pause me now and finish that, or you can unpause me later and you can begin Super Quiz Day. On the day of Super Quiz Day, Mrs. Ortiz divided her third grade class into teams. The winners would play against a team from the N.A. Ridpath School. The rules were simple. Each team was given a category, and the students had to name 10 things that fit into that category. Some categories were tricky. The students had to think in new or different ways to name things that belonged in each group. The bold Bobcats could name 10 things found on a fancy dinner table. The Electric Eagles had named only 8 items found in a car. The Lively Lizards had to sit down when they thought of only 5 tools used for writing. Finally, only the Terrified Turtles and the Slithering Snakes remained. The Slithering Snakes got a tough category: machines that play music. Right away, Cindy said, "A radio." "That's good," said Mrs. Ortiz. Carl raised his hand and said, "A CD player." "Good," said Mrs. Ortiz. "Who's next?" "Tape player, record player." Wonder if you guys even know what those are. Tape player, record player. Then there was a pause. It was hard to think of the more machines that play music. The Slithering Snakes were stumped, so they had to sit down. If the Terrified Turtles came up with all 10 of their items, they would win the contest. "Your category," said Mrs. Ortiz, "is things you play with on the playground." Several hands went up. "Seesaw, jungle gym, swings, sandbox, slide." "That's great," said Mrs. Ortiz. "Keep going." "A playhouse." "Not all playgrounds have playhouses, but we'll count it," Mrs. Ortiz replies. Ken raised his hand. "What about a climbing rope? A hopscotch area? A balance beam?" "Good," said Mrs. Ortiz. "That makes 9. The students tried to think of the others, but they were having some trouble as the seconds ticked down. "I can't think of any more," said Barbara. "It's hopeless," said Rico. "It looks like it will be a tie," said Mrs. Ortiz. Both groups did. "Wait!" Kaya cried. "What about each other? We can play with each other on the playground." Mrs. Ortiz smiled. "That makes 10. Thanks to some creative thinking, the Turtles win the contest. Told you the stories would be super short and super easy. Okay, so this one's a little different. You have this chart shows what happened at the beginning of the story. It's already filled in for us. And the Super Quiz Day, the middle, and then the end is left blank. So you have to fill in those boxes. So those 5 things are 5 things, boys and girls, that I will be grading, hopefully to just give you a 100 in your ELA grade book, so you have a 100 in reading. Take your time on that. Bring that hard copy into me. Don't need to do any writing on top of it yet, but if you were doing the following along on the screen, you just used it to follow along. We're not going to ask you to go in and know how to edit and write in those answers. Not at all yet. So that was just to follow along while I was reading something. So on your physical hard copy, the one that you got in class, make sure that you do those in pencil, nice, neat, handwriting, take your time. This is only a 10-minute video. Hopefully it makes up for my very long math videos. I'm sorry my math videos were so long, and I will see you guys next week. Happy day 5.